Imagine, if you will, that each of us is a vessel. Not a grand galleon, perhaps, nor a swift clipper, but a ship nonetheless, launched onto the vast, unpredictable expanse of existence. We are mariners on the ocean of life, an ocean that shifts from tranquil turquoise to tumultuous gray in the span of a heart's breath. From the moment our sails catch their first wind, we are tasked with a journey, a voyage towards shores unseen, horizons that beckon with the promise of purpose, of peace, of belonging. We seek stable land, a harbor where we can drop anchor and feel secure. We yearn for guidance, for a celestial map etched by an unseen hand, for the ocean's currents to be benevolent, to gently steer us towards our heart's true north. Yet so often these very currents, these external forces and internal tides, seem to have a will of their own. They pull and they push, carrying us on their own uncertain course, sometimes towards breathtaking sunrises, other times into the teeth of raging storms. It is in these moments, when the waves crash over the bow and the stars are obscured by storm clouds, that a profound sense of helplessness can take root. Confusion becomes our unwelcome navigator. The sheer, relentless effort of keeping the ship afloat, of wrestling with the helm, of scanning the horizon for a landmark that never appears, it can become overwhelming. In this crucible of struggle, a dangerous desire can whisper through the rigging, the desire to give up control, to relinquish the captaincy of our own ship. We begin to look, sometimes desperately, for someone or something to take the wheel, to offer even a momentary reprieve from the arduous task of navigating the complexities of being. This search for relief, for a temporary abdication of responsibility, often leads us to the alluring mirage of intoxicating substances. They appear on the horizon like tranquil islands, promising calm waters and a respite from the storm. They beckon with the siren song of ease, whispering that they are worthy captains, that they can steer our vessel with an effortless grace we feel we lack. They offer a potent illusion, a world without sharp edges, a mind unburdened by its own relentless churn, a fleeting sense of control wrested from the chaos. But the tragedy lies in their destination. These surrogate captains, these intoxicating guides, almost invariably pilot us towards the limited, treacherous shores of their own abuse. Their maps lead not to wholeness, but to a smaller, more confined world, one where the initial relief gives way to a deeper, more insidious form of being lost. For the greatest hardship of life, the one that underpins all others, is often life itself in its raw, unfiltered, magnificent, and terrifying intensity. We are, by our very nature, engaged in a constant heroic battle, a battle against the complexities that swirl around us and within us, a battle against the illusions that flicker at the periphery of our vision, illusions of separation, of inadequacy, of fear. When we fail to develop the tools, the inner compass, the resilience to navigate these complexities and see through these illusions, they do not simply vanish. Instead, they take root. They begin to dwell within us. And this dwelling, this constant, unaddressed wrestling with the difficulties of life, begins to form knots. Imagine the intricate wiring of our brain, the delicate rigging of our soul. Each unresolved conflict, each unmourned loss, each suppressed fear becomes a tightening in that system. Like a knot in a once strong rope, or a seized muscle in a once agile limb, these mental and emotional knots restrict our range of motion. They inhibit the healthy, vibrant operation of our lives. Our thoughts become entangled, our emotions constricted. Joy flows less freely. Clarity becomes obscured. The ship of our being feels heavy, encumbered, difficult to steer, not just because of the external storm, but because of the internal tangles. It is in our desperate, often unconscious, efforts to loosen these knots, to alleviate the painful tension they create, that we so often find ourselves at the foot of those intoxicating substances. They promise to untie, to soothe, to release. And for a fleeting moment, they might seem to. They might numb the ache, blur the sharp edges of the knot, create an illusion of slackness. But the rope they offer, the one they pull, usually only serves to tighten those knots further in the long run, or worse, to weave new, more complicated ones. Addiction itself becomes the thickest, most unyielding knot of all. Consider this: humans are one of the very few creatures on this magnificent planet, perhaps the only one with such profound intentionality, to purposely and habitually seek to alter the chemistry of their own brains. Why? Why this unique, often perilous, fascination with escaping the confines of our ordinary consciousness? It is likely a direct byproduct of the intricate, often bewildering, maze that exists between our inner world and the world outside. We possess a consciousness that can contemplate its own existence, its own mortality, its own pain. We are aware of the chasm between our deepest yearnings and the often harsh realities we face. This complex interplay, this awareness of our own awareness, creates a unique vulnerability, a fertile ground for seeking solace in altered states. Drugs, in their myriad forms, offer a shortcut through this maze. They promise an illusion of smoothness, a temporary paving over of life's rough terrain. When the path ahead seems impossibly rocky, when our internal landscape feels like a jagged mountain range, the allure of a substance that can, even for a few hours, make it all feel like a gentle, rolling meadow is undeniably powerful. It's a manufactured peace, a borrowed serenity. And let us be clear, the mere act of using pleasure-stimulating or mind-altering substances is not, in and of itself, inherently a catastrophe. Throughout history, cultures have utilized plants and rituals to achieve altered states for spiritual insight, communal bonding, or temporary celebration. The danger does not lie in the molecule itself, but in our relationship to it. The crux of the problem, the heart of the struggle, is our often profound inability to understand how to cultivate that same sense of smoothness, that same resilience, that same inner peace within the sober reality of our own lives, using the resources of our own being. It is this deficit, this lack of internal tools for navigating difficulty, for soothing our own anxieties, for finding joy in the everyday, that fuels the misuse and overuse of intoxicating substances. It is this chasm between the life we experience and the life we crave, and our perceived inability to bridge it authentically, that we must be most deeply concerned about. This is the fertile ground from which the insidious roots of addiction grow, wrapping themselves around the heart of our potential. It is vital, then, that we reframe our understanding. People who fall into the grip of substance abuse are not merely accomplices to a crime of self-destruction. They are not inherently weak or flawed or morally bankrupt. More often than not, they are casualties. They are victims not of the substances themselves in isolation, but of the overwhelming complexity and inherent fragility of human existence. They are souls attempting to navigate an often brutal ocean without a reliable compass or a sturdy rudder. Drugs, in this light, become a tragic byproduct, a misguided solution to a problem that lies far deeper than the craving for a chemical high. Consider the person who feels profoundly fulfilled, whose life is rich with meaning, connection, and purpose. A person whose ship is well maintained, whose sails are filled with the winds of passion, whose crew, their relationships, their community, is strong and supportive. Such a person, while they might encounter storms, feels less need to abandon their post, less compulsion to habitually leave the bridge of their own mind. When the inner landscape is cultivated, when it is a place of relative peace and intrinsic worth, the desperate urge to escape it diminishes. And so, as a culture, as a community of fellow voyagers on this shared ocean, we must cultivate a profound shift in perspective. We must move from judgment to understanding, from condemnation to compassion. We must recognize that the tendrils of addiction often find purchase in spirits wounded by trauma, by loneliness, by despair, by a lack of opportunity, by the crushing weight of unmet needs. To truly understand how to appropriately and effectively handle the pervasive problems of substance abuse that plague our societies, we must first ensure that we are appropriately and compassionately handling the fundamental human problems that underpin them. Are we building societies that foster connection or isolation? Do we offer pathways to meaning and purpose? Or do we leave too many adrift in a sea of perceived pointlessness? Do we teach our children and ourselves the skills of emotional intelligence, of resilience, of self-compassion? Or do we prioritize a narrow definition of success that leaves many feeling inadequate? The journey to healing, both for individuals and for society, begins with this compassionate inquiry. It begins with acknowledging the pain that drives the escape. It means creating safe harbors where individuals can speak their truth without shame, where they can find resources that address not just the symptoms of addiction, but the root causes. This means investing in mental health care as robustly as we invest in physical health care. It means fostering communities where vulnerability is seen as strength, not weakness. It means teaching coping mechanisms that are constructive, not destructive. Mindfulness, meditation, creative expression, physical activity, the solace of nature, the power of genuine human connection. We must help each other learn to become better captains of our own ships. This involves several crucial endeavors. First, we must learn to read the weather of our own souls, to become attuned to our inner states, to recognize the early signs of an approaching storm: anxiety, sadness, anger, restlessness, and to have strategies in place to navigate these feelings without being capsized by them. This is the practice of emotional literacy, of self-awareness. Second, we must strengthen our vessel. This means cultivating resilience. Life will inevitably bring storms. We cannot avoid them, but we can strengthen the hull of our ship through self-care, through healthy boundaries, through nurturing our physical and mental well-being, so that when the waves hit, we are less likely to take on water. Third, we need to learn to navigate by our own stars. This is about discovering our own values, our own purpose, our own unique definition of a life well lived. When we have a clear destination in mind, a guiding star of our own choosing, we are less likely to be swayed by the allure of every fleeting light or false beacon. This intrinsic motivation is a powerful anchor. Fourth, we must recognize the illusion of the false harbor. To understand, truly understand, that while the immediate relief offered by intoxication might seem like shelter, it is often a trap that leads to being more profoundly marooned. This understanding comes not from judgment, but from education, from honest stories, and from witnessing the long-term consequences. Fifth, and perhaps most crucially, we must cultivate the lighthouse within. This is the unwavering beam of self-compassion, of self-acceptance. It's the understanding that we are all fallible, that we all struggle, and that making mistakes, even grievous ones, does not define our worth. This inner lighthouse can guide us back to ourselves when we feel lost, reminding us that even in the darkest night, there is a core of strength and goodness within us waiting to be rediscovered. It's about learning to offer ourselves the same kindness and understanding we would offer a dear friend who is struggling. The allure of intoxication is a testament to our deep human yearning for peace, for joy, for transcendence. The challenge before us is not to extinguish this yearning, but to redirect it, to guide it away from the fleeting, treacherous shores of substance-induced escape, and towards the sustainable, authentic sources of well-being that reside within us and around us. It is about learning to find the extraordinary in the ordinary, the sacred in the mundane. It is about realizing that the smoothness we seek is not an absence of life's challenges, but an inner capacity to meet those challenges with grace, courage, and an open heart. It is the ability to sail through the storm, perhaps battered and bruised, but with our spirit intact, our eyes still fixed on a horizon of hope. So let us be patient with ourselves and with others. Let us recognize the shared humanity in this struggle. The ocean of life will always have its tempests, its unpredictable currents. But within each of us lies the potential to be a skilled mariner, a courageous captain. The journey is to awaken that potential, to clear the knots from our rigging, to trust our inner compass, and to build our own lighthouse, a beacon of hope, resilience, and unwavering compassion, strong enough to guide us home, no matter how far we've strayed. For the true harbor is not a place of escape from life, but a place of deeper engagement with it, in all its beautiful, terrible, and wondrous complexity. And that, ultimately, is the voyage worth undertaking.